For our 12.3 practice, you need to choose at least 6 of these problems to complete with me. So this says the Shanghai World Financial Center is one of the tallest buildings in the world. It features a large trapezoidal opening to allow wind to pass through. The opening is about 35 meters tall, so its height is 35. So, right, we know the height is 35. H is 35. It is about 40 meters on the bottom. So this bottom, actually grab a red so we can see it better. So this bottom is 40 and 50 meters along the top. So this top is 50. So let's remember, as we are doing trapezoids, we take the bottom base, or the top, will not matter, base 1, and we add it to base 2, and that is creating, so if we have this trapezoid, that is creating this new parallelogram. So we're getting the bottom and the top put together, and we times it by the height to find the whole parallelogram, and then we're going to cut it in half. So we just need to find this problem here. So our bottom is 40, base 1 is 40. We're adding that to the top. Then we'll times it by how tall it is, 35. And then we have to cut that whole thing in half. So I know we're going to start here. We're going to add our bases. 40 plus 50 is 90. So now we need to do 35 times 90, and then we'll cut that in half. So somewhere on your paper or your scratch paper, make sure you are doing this work. So we have 35 times 90. 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. Placeholder. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 3 is 27. Plus 4 is 31. So we're adding these together. 0, 5, 1, 3. We do not have any decimals. So now we're at 3,150. And we want to divide that in half. So we're going to take 3,150 and divide it in half. So we need something above the 3, the 1, the 5, and the 0. And it should go in there perfect because 2 goes perfectly into this even number that ends in 0. So I want you to finish this problem and tell me what that is. And it measured it in meters squared. So do 3,150, so 3,150 divided by 2 to get that answer there. Okay, number 2 says a trapezoid's longer base is 3 times the length of its shorter base. Okay, so if we have this one, 1, 2, 3, this one is 3 times shorter. So let's go right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it kind of looks like that, right? This is kind of 3, this is 3 of this top one here. The trapezoid has an area of 32, so the area is 32 square feet. The height is 4. Oh, we have to figure out what are we going to add together to times by 4, cut it in half, and get to 32. So let's set up our problem. So what do we know? We know the area is 32. And we know the height is 4. And we're going to times that by something and something. And then we've got to cut it in half. So before we cut it in half, so let's go backwards here. So, right, the opposite of divide by 2 is going to be times by 2. So now times by 2 over here. So we have 32 times 2. So I'm going to come work down here is 64. So now we have 64 equals 4 plus something we don't know. So now we're going to divide this by 4. So, well, sorry, I had to pause and think about if that's what I really wanted to do. Yes, we are going to, right, opposite of times is going to be divide by 4. So now we're going to divide this by 4. So 64 divided by 4. So you might need a scratch paper for this unless you have room out to the side. So that goes in there 1 time. And that goes in there 6 times. So this is 16 equals something plus something. And now it can't just be 8 plus 8 because it says this bottom one is 3 times bigger. So, right, we have 4 sections. So let's cut it into 4 pieces. So if this is 4, if this is 4, and then 4, we have 4, 8, 12, 16. Together, these need to make 16. So this one is 4, and the longer one is 4, 8, 12. So our answers should be the length of each base. Sorry, I've got to get some room here. So the answer to this one, need more room, is one base could be 4, we're talking feet, and the other could be 12 feet. Now let's double check. 12 plus 4 is 16. 16 times by 4. 16 times 4 is 64. Cut that in half is 32. You've always got to go back and check. When I find these, does that make sense? Lots of us are forgetting about the cut in half part, which actually when you work backwards, you've got to double it. Okay, number 3. One base of the trapezoid is 4 inches long. Okay, so we have our trapezoid here. One base is 4, the other is 6. The trapezoid has a total of 25. Do the measurements describe a unique trapezoid? I don't know what a unique trapezoid is. Let's see what the book has to say about that. Okay, looking at the book wants us to find the height and then see what we think about that trapezoid. So we want to find this height. So we have an area of 25. So 25 equals the height. We don't know the height times. We'd add our bases. 4 plus 6, then we have to cut that in half. So we're looking for h. We want to get it by itself. So the opposite of divide by 2 is times by 2. So 2 25s makes 50. So 50 equals h. And then 4 plus 6. We're going to add 4 and 6 is 10. And it's times by 10, right? H times 10. So the opposite is to divide by 10, which cancels out. So we divide by 10 here. 50 divided by 10 is 5. H is 5. So let's do our math here. Does that make sense? 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 times 5 is 50. Cut in half is 25. So that makes sense. So the height is 5. Now, does the trapezoid have to look like this exactly? No, it could look like this, right? This could be 5, this could be 4, this could be 6. It could have a right angle. So is this a unique trapezoid? Is there only one way to draw this? No, there is not. So show me 2 different drawings of what this trapezoid could look like. So this could be 5, this could be 4, this could be 6, right? This one has a right angle. You can see that these ones are both slanted. So draw me 2 different trapezoids of what this could look like using that height. Whew, okay, I'm learning stuff too. How great. Okay, find the area of this trapezoid shown below. Okay, a nice straightforward problem. We're grateful. So base plus base. So let's set up our problem. So we have 11.4. We're adding on 5.7. And we need to times that by 8 and then cut it in half. So let's start here. Base plus base, so 11.4. And we're adding on 5.7. So there's 11, 5, 6, 7. Decimal comes straight down and 1. So now we're at 8 times 17.1 cut in half. So now we need to take 17.1 and we need to times it by 8. So here's 8, 56, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 1 decimal place. So now we have 136. 0.8, and we need to cut that in half. So we need to go ahead and do 136.8, and we need to divide that by 2. I need something above the 1, the 3, the 6. There's my decimal, and I need something above the 8. It should go in there perfect because 2 can go into 8, into this even number. So I want you to go ahead and finish this problem and put your answer here, and these are measured in centimeters squared. Hey, all right, our next one, number 5, says the area of a trapezoid is 18 square feet. So that's the total. The height is 3. What is the sum? So when you add them together, what is the length of the bases? So we just need to know the total. We don't even need to know the separate ones, just what is the total. So we have the height of 3, and we're going to times that by the bases, base 1 added to base 2. We just need to know what is this whole thing here. Cut it in half is 18. So let's work backwards. Times by 2. The opposite of divide is times by 2. Times by 2. So there's 16. 2 plus 1 is 3. So we're at 3 times the bases equals 36. So the opposite of times is divide. So 36 divided by 3 will give us our answer. And it's just going to be in feet because we're just finding the single measurements. We're not multiplying them together. So it's just, so 36 divided by 3 will tell us what the bases are when they were added together, right? Some of this one, put them together. What is the base when we add them together? For these last ones, I'm going to help you set them up. You have to do the math. So remember, our formula is base 1 plus base 2. We add those together. We times it by the height. That gives us the big parallelogram. We cut it in half. So this one, we're taking 10 and we're adding on 2. So 10 plus 2. And then we times that by the height of 4. So 10 plus 2 times 4. Then we have to cut that in half. So every time we need to add, then we times, and then we divide in that order every time. So this one we have 4 and 6. So we're taking 4 plus 6, and we're timesing it by that height of 6, and then cutting it in half. So this one here, we have our base here and our base here. So 5 plus 7. And then we're timesing that by the height of 3, and then cutting that in half. Now this one is just tipped on its side. So we can see this height is this square right here. So base 1 plus base 2. So we have 3.5 plus 2.5. And then we are timesing that by 4.5. And then we're going to cut that in half. If you need help doing that, if you have the problem set up, I'm happy to help you with the math. Just make sure you have chosen the right amount of problems to do and have your work shown on a scratch paper or on your paper.